Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna. Welcome to all of you. Hari Bol.
Hare Krishna Maharaj.
Hope this finds all of you in the best of spirits and Krishna consciousness.
Yes, Maharaj.
Yeah, so I will briefly recollect what we did last time, or maybe you should briefly recollect for me what we did last time. Somebody wants to try out?
The living entities takes different forms according to the past deeds, and they are forced to act under the spell of the material nature, three modes of material nature.
Ah, yes, that's a good summary. Krishna starts this chapter by saying that. Yes, anything else you like to share? Dheeraj, like to share something?
Whereas I was not in the classes for the past month, so it's a read.
Okay. The Living the Gita session is a free for all franchisee session. You can attend and you don't have to attend. I'm sorry. But I appreciate that you're here. So she summarized, Priya sort of summarized it. Thank you. I think I asked you to read up to the last 28th shloka. Did you all do it? How many of you did it? I remember everything. They all do so many different sessions. I note down the summary for the last 2-3 minutes before I shut off. And I can see in my summary that I asked you to do that. Read up to the rest. Okay. Anyway, what we're going to do now is I'm going to briefly recollect with you. I think we were somewhere here in Tamoguna and all that we did, if you remember right. Yeah, and we went ahead and spoke about Sattvagun, Rajogun, Tamogun, and we also quoted Krishna is saying afterwards how the gunas are competing with each other. There is a cycle, and how Rajogun means misery, and in this way many things he speaks about. And then Krishna goes ahead to say in the 17th shloka, we finished that, and the 18th he says, Urdhvam gachanti satvasta madhye tishtanti rajasaha. Permutations and combinations of the modes is what this whole world is about. Here is like yellow is sattvic, red is rajasic, and blue is tamasic. Right? RGB is what you will see in printing industry. Here it is, Y, yellow, red, R, and T, and blue, YRB. If you permutation combination of YRB, C, 3C3 or something like that, permutation combination, if you know some mathematics. Then if you work out that, you get some 81, and from that further and further like that. Permutation combinations emerge, produce all sorts of varieties. Then we discussed also how the Trigunas and the Varnashrama exist. And we also discussed how Krishna is the supreme and how we surrender to Krishna. Krishna is saying, then you can overcome Prakriti and things like that. Then in the 18th shloka, Krishna is saying the destinations according to the gunas. Urdhvam gachanti satvasta, madhye tishtanti rajasaha, jaganya gunavrittistha, adho gachanti tamasaha. Dheeraj, would you like to read that on the screen? Translation. I am reading text 18 from chapter 14.
Yes, Maharaj.
Yeah, who are new?
Translation.
Those situated in the mode of goodness gradually go upward to the higher planets. Those in the mode of passion live on the earthly planets, and those in the abominable bond of ignorance go down to the hellish worlds.
Okay, thank you very much, Dheeraj. Okay, pick your choice. You want to go to the higher planets, you want to remain in the earth planet, or you want to go to hellish planets? Which one do you want?
Back
Which
to
one do you
Goloka
want?
Vrindavana. Above them.
It's a choice. Which one do you want? Urdhvam
We
gachanti.
want to go to Krishna's planet, Maharaj.
Pardon?
We want to go to Krishna's planet.
Oh, really? Krishna has forgotten to mention it here. Huh? Ah. Is that right, what she's saying? Is it right,
Yes.
what she's saying?
Yes.
Really? What about others? What do you think? There are three choices that are given here. If you're in Sattvika Guna, you'll go up. If you're in Rajasika Guna, you'll stay in the center, middle. And if you're in Tamasika Guna, you'll go down to hellish planets. Okay. Looks like you know something more than I know. Let's check it out. Urdhvam gachanti sattvasta is saying, for those who are in Sattva Guna, the destination is higher planets. For those who are in Rajasika Guna, here in red, the destination is you come back to the earth. Those who are in Tamasika Guna, to lower planets. And there is another situation which is transcendental to the modes. And there actually, you can go to the spiritual planet, the planet of Krishna, the Vaikuntha, and so many other things. That is something that you should know. And there are various different types of things discussed, results of action in Rajasic, Tamasic, and Sattvic mode, and how you get conditioned. Sattva conditions to happiness, Rajas conditions you to fruitive action, Tamas conditions you to madness. In this way, if you die in Sattvika Guna, you'll go to the planets of the higher sages. If you die in Rajasika Guna, you'll come back among fruitive workers. You'll go to fruitive working place. If you die in Tamasika Guna, you'll go to the animal kingdom. But if you die chanting Hare Krishna, remembering Krishna, if you die having done services to Krishna in akarma, if you die having done Bhakti Yoga, then you will not go to any of these destinations. Higher planets, earth, or lower planets. Like Priya was saying, you will go back to Krishna's planet. And that Krishna is saying, because these are questions asked by Arjuna. In the 19th shloka, Krishna will say, Na anyam gunebhyah kartaram yada drishtanupashyati gunebhyascha param veti madbhavam soti gacchati. Okay, can somebody read the translation of text 19? Who likes to read the translation of text 19? Baby
Maharaj, shall I
Mohan.
do that?
Who is Baby Mohan? Would you like to read the translation to text 19 from chapter 14 of Prabhupada's Bhagavad Gita as it is?
Hare Krishna Maharaj.
Yeah,
Can I?
please.
Thus the field of activity, knowledge, and the knowledgeable have been summarily described by me. Only my devotee can understand this thoroughly and thus attain my nature. Hare Krishna.
I think I'm asking you to read text 19 of chapter 14. Text
Hare Krishna
19.
Maharaj.
Yeah.
I'll read it.
Yes, text 19 of chapter 14.
Can I read Maharaj?
Na,
Yeah. Go ahead.
When one properly see that in all activities, no other performer is at work than these modes of nature, and he knows the Supreme Lord, who is transcendental to all these modes, he attained my spiritual nature. Hare Krishna.
Yes, thank you. So, very important statement. When one properly sees that in all activities in this world, no other performer is at work than these modes of nature. Number one. Number two, he knows who is the Supreme Lord, Krishna. And number three, you should also know that he is transcendental. The Supreme Lord is transcendental beyond these modes. If you know these three things, then he will attain my nature. That's very interesting. Mad bhavam so adhigachati. He will attain to my nature. This is Krishna's statement. It means it's a complete spiritual nature, not this material nature. He gets released from the material modes. And the next shloka very nicely says, Guna netanatityatrin dehi dehas samudbhavan janma mrityu jara dukkhair vimukto amritam ashnute. When the embodied being is able to transcend these modes associated with the material body, he can become free from birth, old age, and their distresses, and can enjoy nectar even in this life. So a very, very nice, wonderful purport that Prabhupada writes. I am sad that you are not reading the purports. If you read the purport, you will understand that Prabhupada is saying some amazing things, both in the one that we read earlier and in this purport. So let's read this purport. Since you have not read it, we'll have to spend time reading it. Text 19. One can transcend all the activities of the modes of material nature simply by understanding them properly, by learning them from the proper souls. The real spiritual master is Krishna, and he is imparting the spiritual knowledge to Arjuna. Similarly, it is from those who are fully in Krishna consciousness that one has to learn the science of activities in terms of the modes of nature. Otherwise, one's life will be misdirected. By the instruction of a bona fide spiritual master, a living entity can know of his spiritual position, his material body, his senses, how he is entrapped, and how he is under the spell of the material modes of nature. He is helpless, being in the grip of these modes. But when he can see his real position, then he can attain to the transcendental platform, having the scope for spiritual life. Actually, the living entity is not the performer of different activities. He is forced to act because he is situated in a particular type of body, conducted by some particular mode of material nature. Unless one has the help of spiritual authority, he cannot understand in what position he is actually situated. With the association of a bona fide spiritual master, he can see his real position. And by such an understanding, he can become fixed in full Krishna consciousness. A man in Krishna consciousness is not controlled by the spell of the material modes of nature. It has already been stated in the 7th chapter that one who has surrendered to Krishna is relieved from the activities of material nature. For one who is able to see things as they are, the influence of material nature gradually ceases. A very, very important purport. Krishna, Prabhupada is here telling, first you must understand what is the problem. First you must understand you are in a problem. Most of the world is so much engrossed in the illusion, they don't even know what is their problem. They don't even know what, first identify the problem. You remember in the first chapter and the 2nd chapter, Krishna is helping Arjuna to understand you have a problem. Most of us don't know we have a problem, don't agree we have a problem, and we don't know what is the problem. There are many people, motivational speakers and big guys, thinkers, speaking about so many different types of problems, but that is not the real problem. The problem is mentioned here. Na anyam gunebhya kartaram yada drishthanupashyati. If you're able to see this, your problem, you're situated inside matter, inside under the control of material modes, inside this body, and you are not the performer, but you're forced to act. That is the problem. And you're grappling with it. If you're able to see that, then starts your spiritual life. Because at least you will know what is happening, where it is happening, to whom it is happening, why it is happening. This is called education. You may learn about shooting rockets into space, about a submarine inside the ocean. You may learn about climate change. You may learn about this, that, everything. But actually, you're not learning about where you are, what's happening to you. You are the problem. You have a problem, and you are the problem. If you don't understand this, you will never be able to be successful in anything you do in this world. Very powerful statement made here. Once you understand that, then you know that gunebhyascha paramveti, that I, Krishna, the Supreme Lord, is beyond these gunas. I don't have a problem like you. The main thing to know is, you have a problem, but I don't have a problem, Krishna is saying. Then Prabhupada is going further in the purport to say, there are people who represent Krishna who also don't have a problem, because they are Krishna conscious. So you must listen to them. You must listen to them. And the mind will always tell you not to listen to them. It will bring so many wonderful rationalizations for you. Then you're again stuck in the problem. First, agree you have a problem. In psychotherapy, in psychology, in psychiatrist's, couch, you will see the patient will always say, nothing is wrong with me. I'm perfectly all right. All mad people and all these people who are mentally deranged will say, why are you calling me mad? Why? Nothing is wrong with me. Denial, they call it. They deny that anything is wrong with them. And this is a big problem. There's another type of disease, to deny it. If you deny it, you have a problem. What is wrong in accepting you have a problem? Because the world, everybody is in the same problem. But each one is fighting with each other, saying, I don't have a problem, you have a problem. Actually, everybody has a problem. Everybody is inside the material world. Everybody is struggling. Why don't you agree we have a problem? And so brilliantly Krishna is explaining, everybody has a problem, but I, Krishna, don't have a problem. I can help you because I don't have a problem. You see, if you are having a problem, you need somebody who doesn't have the problem to help you. Prabhupada gave another brilliant example of saying that if your hands are tied, if you are convicted of something and you're in the prison house, you're imprisoned. And if your hands are tied, how can you claim to be the person who can untie my hands? First, if you are untied only, can you untie everybody else's hands? If you are also a prisoner inside, you can't do anything good to me. You need somebody from outside the jail who doesn't have his hands tied up, who has not got a chain in his feet, and who is, completely free to come in and take out your chain. Similarly, those who don't have these problems, those who don't have the material modes of nature affecting them, are the only ones who can help you to get out of the modes. This Bhagavad Gita is written by such a person. That's why he's very boldly stating things here. He knows the mechanics, he knows how it works. And so he is very clearly stating it. Krishna is also stating it. He's saying, Gunebhyascha paramveti mad bhavam swadhigacchati. If you understand this, you'll also become like me. That means what? You'll come out of the prison house. You'll be situated like me, free, and like that. Prabhupada keeps saying, a bona fide spiritual master. A bona fide, he keeps saying that throughout the purport. A bona fide spiritual master means one who is properly authorized for this. Right? He should be approached. He can help you out of this. Important point for you all to know. Gunan etan atityatrin dehi dehas samudbhavan janma mrityu jara dukkhair vimukto amritam ashnute. Go to text 20. You see how this flows so beautifully towards the end. When the embodied being is able to transcend these three modes associated with the material body, he can become free from birth, death, old age, and their distresses, and can enjoy nectar even in this life. So it doesn't mean that you have to get out of this body to enjoy amritam, ashnute. Amrita means nectar. That means Brahman. That's going to be described in the next chapter, the next shloka. Krishna is giving a hint that if you can see the gunas operating and that you are not the performer and you know me who is beyond this, then you can also slowly get to my nature. Okay. And then here it says, when the embodied being is able to transcend like this, the three modes, he becomes even free from birth, death, old age, and disease. And then he can, in that situation, even though he's inside this body, inside this material world, he will enjoy Amrita. He will enjoy bliss. Immediately Arjuna asks question. Arjuna Vacha, text 21. Kairlingai strin gunanetan atita bhavati prabho kim acharah khatam chaitam strin gunan adivartate. A very smart person Arjuna is. He's asking, who's the type of a guy who is beyond the modes? How do I recognize him? What are his characteristics? What is his lakshana? Arjuna inquired, oh my dear Lord, by which symptoms is one known who is transcendental to these three modes? What is his behavior? And how does he transcend the modes of nature? Very clearly saying, you cannot claim to be liberated. You cannot claim to be a guru. You cannot claim to be a holy person unless you have this freedom from the gunas. Or at least you're in the process of getting out of the modes and you know the theory and you're trying it and you're performing it. You cannot be a self-styled person who is posing to be free, posing to be transcendental. You have to have certain symptoms. Very clearly, Arjuna is asking that question. How will I recognize such a person? He is not immediately assuming, I must be that guy, right? Who doesn't beyond the modes because I'm sitting with you. He's not even saying that. He's saying, how should I recognize such a person? What are the symptoms? What are the lakshanas by which I should recognize? So this purport also is very interesting. Anjana, please read the purport.
Yes, Maharaj. Text 21 purport. In this verse, Arjuna's questions are very appropriate. He wants to know the symptoms of a person who has already transcended the material modes. He first inquires of the symptoms of such a transcendental person. How can one understand that he has already transcended the influence of the modes of material nature? The second question asks how he lives and what his activities are. Are they regulated or non-regulated? Then Arjuna inquires of the means by which he can attain the transcendental nature. That's very important. Unless one knows the direct means by which one can be situated always transcendentally, there is no possibility of showing the symptoms. So all these questions put by Arjuna are very important and the Lord answers them.
Yeah, thank you, Anjana. So it's so sweet, this conversation between Krishna and Arjuna. There's no lying, there's no cheating from either side. The person who is the guru is Krishna himself. He doesn't need to cheat Arjuna. The person who is a disciple is Arjuna himself, who is genuinely interested in getting the hell out of the situation that he is in. Right? Genuineness. And therefore, there is good interaction, transaction happening. Immediately, Shri Bhagavanubhacha, Krishna replies, Prakasham cha pravritim cha mohameva cha pandava na dveshti sampravrittani na nivrittani kankshati udasina vadasino gunairyo na vichalyate gunavartanta iti evam yo avityashtati nengate samadhukka sukasvastha samaloshtaashma kanchanah tulya priya priyo dhiras tulya nindatma samstuti manapamanayo tulya tulyo mitrari pakshayo sarvaramba parityagi guna atita sa uchyate. Very interesting. Shanmuga Priya, will you read this translation? Unmute yourself.
Yes, Maharaj. Hare Krishna, Maharaj.
Yeah.
The Supreme Personality of Godhead said, O son of Pritha, he who does not hate illumination, attachment, and illusion when they are present or long for them when they disappear, who is unwavering and undisturbed through all these reactions of the material qualities, remains neutral and transcendental, knowing that the modes alone are active, who is situated in the self and regards alike happiness and distress, who looks upon the lump of earth, a stone, and a piece of gold with the equal eye, who is equal towards the desirable and undesirable, who is steady situated equally well in praise and blame, honor and dishonor, who treat alike both friends and enemy, and who has renounced all material activities. Such a person is said to have transcended transcended the modes of nature. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Shamagopriya. So Krishna is specifically telling the qualities of such a person, the Lakshana of such a person. And then he's saying such a person, has transcended the modes of material nature. Very important, very specific information. Anybody cannot do anything he wants and claim to be spiritual. Very clearly saying how to understand. Such a science this is. It is not that somebody can put on an act and fool people who don't have this information. That's why you must read Bhagavad Gita thoroughly, scrutinizingly, under a good tutor. And then you come to know how to make judgments about anything spiritual or material. Right? So I won't go through that purport. It's long and you must read it. Then Krishna answers the next question. Arjuna has asked questions. How do I know him? How do I get to that situation? And all that. So Krishna first is answering what is the Lakshana of that person who's beyond the merds. And then next, he's saying, Mam choyabda vicharena bhakti yogena sevate sagunan samati tyaitan brahma bhuyaya kalpate. Now he's explaining how to come to that position. He explained the ideal person is like this. Then he explained how to come there. How to come there? He's saying, do devotional service to me. Okay, let somebody read it. Can somebody read what's on the screen? iPhone Nandini. I found a new Nandini called iPhone Nandini. iPhone Nandini, can you please read the translation on the screen?
நமஸ்தே பிரபுஜி, நான் வந்து தமிழ்ல தான் வச்சிருக்கேன்.
அப்படியா? Okay, பரவாயில்ல. That's okay. Anybody else who's present here would like to read? Shyamala Venugopal, would you like to take it?
Can I read?
Yes, please read, Shyamala Venugopal ji.
Yes, Maharaj.
Yeah.
One who engages in full devotional service, unfailing in all circumstances, at once transcends the modes of material nature and thus comes to the level of Brahman.
Wonderful. Thank you. Thank you. Isn't that very interesting? Now Krishna is answering each question. How to come to that position? He's saying that engage in full devotional service, unfailing in all circumstances. Number one, full devotional service, unfailing in all circumstances. You'll at once transcend the modes of nature and you come to the level of Brahman. Brahman here means spiritual. Brahman here means free from all the material influence, free from all the modes, free from attachments to matter and everything. That's the meaning of Brahman here. Okay, you're being introduced to it. So this is another very interesting purport where Prabhupada is explaining that being in the position of Brahman means is actually speaking about a person who's a devotee, who by engaging in devotional service, because the previous shloka he says, Mamcho abhyabhicharena bhakti, I'm sorry, in this shloka he's saying, bhakti yogena sevate, bhakti yoga, devotional service. He will immediately in this lifetime, in this body itself be in Brahman, if you engage in devotional service. Then what is Brahman? What is the meaning of that Brahman? He'll be situated in Brahman, Brahma bhuyaya kalpate. What's the meaning of that? He's trying to say here that you don't have to separately work hard to be in Brahman. If you simply engage in service to Krishna, in bhakti yoga, you're already in Brahman. You're already in Brahman. It's a very interesting statement. That is what? Continuously without a break. Mamcha abhyabhicharena. You know what's the meaning of vyabhichari? You know what's the meaning of vyabhichari? Who is a vyabhichari? Who wants to?
Unchaste prostitute.
Yeah, unchaste. Women are called, you're unchaste, you're prostitute, you're a whore, you're a this, that. Then in normal language, they will call you vyabhichari. Krishna is using the word avyabhichari bhakti you must do. Completely fixed only on Krishna. Ananyas chintayanto mam. Don't think of anybody else. I am the only destination for you. If you completely surrender yourself and think of me, avyabhichari bhakti, bhakti yogena sevate, then sagunan samiti taitan brahma bhuyaya kalpate. See, our loyalties get diluted in the material world. Material loyalties are different and of various shape and sizes. But when you come to know the absolute truth, Krishna, all these material loyalties will automatically drop because they don't match up. Krishna, the absolute truth, is supreme. So Krishna is saying, when you are focused on me, you don't need any other relative loyalties. Not required. That you must understand. So if you're fixed in me, automatically everything else will drop and you'll be ananya bhakti. I am not invested in anybody else, in anything else. Abhyabhicharena bhakti sagunan. Then easily you'll see the modes can be crossed over. This is the meaning of bhakta, a devotee. He's not a jnani, he's not a karmi, he's not a yogi, but he's a bhakta, a devotee. This is the classical statement made by Krishna. Only my devotee can easily cross over it, the three modes. Okay? This is the sum and substance of what is being mentioned here in the shloka. Sagunan samati tyaitan brahma bhuyaya kalpate. In the beginning of the chapter, Krishna mentioned how mamayonir mamad brahma, mahad brahma, how he impregnates matter, the material world, with living entities, and they become entrapped under the three modes. Nibadnanti mahabaho dehe dehinam abhyayam. They get different types of bodies according to their karma and gunas, and they come out in different shapes and sizes. And then the questions asked is, this is how it works. And if you want to get out of the gunas, then you must do bhakti yoga to me. Sagunan samati taityan. If bhakti yogena sevate, if you do bhakti yoga, you will get out of the modes. It doesn't say jnana yogena sevate. It doesn't say karma yogena sevate. It doesn't say yoga, ashtanga yogena sevate. It says bhakti yogena sevate sagunan samati taitan. You must note this very well. Because some explanations of Bhagavad Gita, they glorify jnana. Krishna also glorifies jnana, but he says bhakti is superior to jnana. Which means if somebody has love for Krishna, he may not be highly educated. He is far greater than the jnani. Important for you to know. Then Krishna goes further to explain what is that Brahman situation by saying you will get Brahma Bhuyaya Kalpate. Then he says, the foundation of Brahman is me. That also you must know. That's another very interesting thing. See, so many things Krishna is mentioning. Step by step, if you analyze, you will see that it's 9 o'clock. Bhakti Sagunan Samati Taitan Brahma Bhuyaya Kalpate. So sometimes people ask, after doing Bhakti Yoga, you'll be in Brahman situation. No, it is included. Something more than Brahman you'll actually get. But Arjuna has asked this question, he's saying, if you perform devotional service to me, automatically go beyond the modes and you'll be situated in spiritual life. And that is Brahman. Brahma Bhuyaya Kalpate. And for a devotee of mine who's rendering devotional service, he'll very easily come to that. He'll very easily. In the purport, you will see that Krishna, Brahma, in this purport, Brahmano hi pratishtaham. You will see that Prabhupada is explaining what is the meaning of Brahman, Paramatma, and Bhagavan realizations. Okay? Brahmano hi pratishtaham amritasya avyayasya cha shashvatasya cha dharmasya sukhasya kantikasya cha. All right? So Prakash Sharma ji, can you please read this translation? Happy to see you, Prakash Sharma ji.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, Dandavat Pranam. And I am the basis of the impersonal Brahman, which is immortal, imperishable, and eternal, and is the constitutional position of ultimate happiness.
Thank you. Thank you.
Hare Krishna.
See, people think many things. I am the basis of the impersonal Brahman. So if you go to the translation, if you go to the purport to this, right in the beginning, Prabhupada is saying, the constitution of Brahman is immortality, imperishability, eternity, and happiness. That's the meaning of Amritasya Avyayasya cha, Shashvatasya cha Dharmasya Sukhasya Kantikasya cha. Explained neatly in 4 words: immortality, imperishability, eternity, and happiness. Brahman is the beginning of transcendental realization. Paramatma, the super soul, is the middle, the second stage in transcendental realization. And the Supreme Personality of Godhead is the ultimate realization of the absolute truth. In stages. I am the basis of that Brahman, that impersonal Brahman realization. So Krishna is explaining that if you perform Bhakti Yoga, Brahman realization will very easily come to you in the process. What you'll really get is Bhakti. You'll really get beyond the Brahman realization also. You'll be situated in Bhakti. In the purport, Prabhupada will explain that Brahman realization alone is not complete. Is not complete realization. That you will see here in the paragraph. If you go down further, you'll say, when a living entity conditioned by this material nature begins the cultivation of spiritual knowledge, he elevates himself from the position of material existence and gradually rises up to the Brahman conception of the Supreme. This attainment of the Brahman conception of life is the first stage in self-realization. At this stage, the Brahman realized person is transcendental to the material position, but he is not actually perfect in Brahman realization. That's the point. But he is situated in Brahman, but he is not yet perfect in Brahman realization. If he wants, he can continue to stay in the Brahman position and then gradually rise up to the Paramatma realization and then to the realization of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. There are many examples of this in Vedic literature. Okay? So this Brahman of which Krishna is saying, I am the basis, is the beginning stage. The first stage, wherein you have become free from matter and the material modes of influence. Material modes influence you become free from. That's called Brahman. I call it the 0-0 coordinate. You have risen from the minus y axis and come to, I made it. I climbed out of the negative axis. I am in 0-0. It's called Brahman. Now above Brahman, you can go +1, 2, 3, 4 on the y coordinate. You can go above. There is a whole gamut and range. the Brahman realization, one bandwidth, and then the Paramatma realization, another bandwidth, and the topmost is the Bhagavan realization. In that also there is bandwidth. And the topmost in the Bhagavan realization is what the gopis in Vrindavana have. The Gopas have. Nanda Maharaj and Yashoda have. High level of intimacy in a personal way with the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So all this can actually be called Brahman because everything is a spiritual situation. Generally speaking, you will say all this is Brahman. Technically speaking, you'll say Brahman means just about cleared matter. Right? But all along y-axis plus y is Brahman. All along minus y-axis is all material nature and modes. I'm just giving you a little technical explanation of it. Okay? So if you read this purport, which is so wonderful, Prabhupada will say in the top level, the topmost Bhagavan realization is where the spirit soul of the human being, whoever he is, will experience the topmost full capacity of himself by love reciprocation. Rasa, raso vai saha, rasam ki evayam labdvananda bhavati. Actually, the real business of life is to achieve that rasa, that relationship with Krishna, that topmost position of interaction with Krishna in full love. The gopis are ecstatically situated in that. Every second, every minute, they're in ecstasy. It's not that they're seeking happiness by going to the bar, smoking, drinking, wearing a good cloth, standing in front. It's all very cheap stuff that does hardly last. It's fooling of the conditioned soul. But here, naturally, they are situated with the object of love, Krishna, in great intimacy. So there is a gamut, a whole range of Brahman performance that you can do. Sometimes people say, just become Brahman, that is enough. Aham Brahmasmi. I become one with Brahman. That's all very low level of understanding. In Brahman, you are very active, like the gopis are very active. And they're actively interacting on a personal level, one-to-one with Krishna. And Krishna is interacting actively also. And there is in the relationship a rasa is born. And that is the highest enjoyment. Raso vai saha, rasam hi evayam labdvananda bhavati. That's why the same mirror reflection of this perverted reflection in the material world, we try to get that relationship between members of the opposite sex. You know, they try to get that. You will invariably not get it. It will not happen. Adi Rasa is very beautifully explained in the Bhagavatam. So this purport you should read. Transcendental love of Krishna, what does it mean? And how it leads you to that. Right? So you started here in the 3rd chapter, in the 14th chapter, with Krishna saying that I impregnate the whole material creation, and from me comes everything. Okay? And now Krishna is concluding, I'm offering myself to you. If you can perform Bhakti Yoga, you become free from this material modes. And me and you can have a relationship. Abhyacharena Bhakti Yogena Sevate Sagunan Samati Taitan Brahmabhuyaya Kalpate. Krishna is very concerned that you utilize this opportunity and make it and come and enjoy with him in reality. Don't stick around in the illusion, in the false so-called enjoyment, which is not really happening, but which the modes of material nature are making you think that this is real, and you're in great illusion. This is fantastic information, actually. Nobody gives it just like that. And Krishna is giving it, and Prabhupada has brilliantly explained it. This whole topic of illusion of the soul, and how he thinks he is free, how he thinks he is happy, and all that is a very interesting topic. Very interesting topic. So if you introspect very carefully, using this data, using this information that Krishna has given in the 14th chapter, analyze your problem and come to know that I am under the control of the modes of material nature. They push me in waves. I get angry, I get lusty, I get envious, I get greedy. All sorts of material phenomena happen to this. But actually, I am not part of this matter and material experience. I am a blissful spirit soul, completely different from matter and the material emotions that I'm trying to enjoy. I belong to Krishna, and there is multi-million fold happiness awaiting me in my relationship with Krishna in rasa. If you understand this, then there is something to look forward to in the world. Not just something, the thing to look forward to. Okay? So understand material modes and your entrappings in this world and how you can get free from this entrapping. I'll stop here. Any thoughts on that? Any question? Because we have finished and concluded this chapter.